In this video, I'm going to give you a Google Ads headline tip that can make a big difference to your results. Now, I'm in an example Google Ad account. I've gone into the campaign creation process and I've just gone to the ad section to demonstrate this. And what I've done is I've added in a few example headlines. Now, the purpose of this video is not to talk about example headlines and what to include in your headlines. I've got a whole separate video about that, which you can check out. The purpose of this video is to talk about a specific feature called the pin feature. Now, the reason why this is important is because a lot of Google advertisers, in their willingness to test different headline options, which is a great thing to do, they're creating 10, 12, maybe more different headline options here. We know that only 3 of those are going to display most of the time. We can see that on the right-hand side over here. That's the default. But because you've got so many different options, you're testing lots of different stuff, you can end up with scenarios where the ad being displayed doesn't include some really important information and the end result doesn't quite make sense. You can see that as I'm talking here, Google is showing the different headline options, that examples of what might appear with the 3 in a row. And it's important, obviously, that what is displayed to your searcher actually makes sense. So let's just take these examples. They're from different industries and all sort of don't make sense. But let's say we're currently running a limited sale and we have a headline that talks about the fact that we've got limited time 40% off sale. Now, it's very important that we put that in headline. That's a fantastic headline, definitely something we want to include. However, if we've got, say, 10, 12 headline options because we're wanting to test lots within our responsive search ad, we absolutely want to make sure that something about this sale is included every time. Now, you could kind of do that by having lots of different versions of the sale text in there, which I've seen some people do, but of course, that could end up meaning you've got limited time 40% off next to 40% discount ends tomorrow, and that's a waste. You're repeating yourself in the headlines. You don't want to do that either. So what you can do is use the pin feature. Okay, so if we go to the right of this headline, we can see we've got this little pin option. You can hover over the question mark to find more information. You can talk about saying pinning one headline or description causes it to show only in that specific position, preventing others from showing in its place. So let's say, for example, we click on this pin now. Now you can see that the default is to not pin. And that's because Google's worked out that the best results typically come from businesses that are able to test lots of different headline options with their responsive search ads and have the best combinations displayed. And Google would probably work out, given enough time, that limited time 40% off is one of the headlines that definitely wants to be displayed. So I can understand why they recommend you don't use it. But if you're operating with a limited time only, you want this to work right now, often sales, promotions, things like that definitely fall into this category. You want to go ahead and force it. So limited time 40% off may well be something that we want to show only in position 1, and we can go ahead and pin that. Now, of course, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and change that from position 1 to position 2 or position 3. And once you have pinned it, you can see how the preview on the right-hand side is going to adjust to reflect that. And you can see the sorts of examples of how your headlines are likely to look now that we've got that one pinned. Now, another thing to mention is that the way we've got it set up now, this one's always going to be displayed in position 1, but perhaps we don't want that. We want a slightly different version of the same thing here, this limited time 40% off. Maybe we had something like 40% flash sale right now, something along those lines. Okay, well, what we could do, let's say we wanted to either display this limited time 40% off in position 1 or our 40% flash sale right now in position 1, we could also select position 1. It's not going to work just that only one is allowed to be in there, then they can be cycled through, and then all the other headlines that we've included can be tested and cycled through. And we can see this now on, again, in the preview, which is really handy that Google provides this. We can see that it's sort of circling between, sometimes it's going to be this option, sometimes it's going to be this option. You can, of course, do the same thing with pinning position 2 and 3, but that typically becomes less important. So if you've been testing a lot of headline options, which is great, you might want to think about adding in this as an extra feature and have a little think about exactly how your headlines are going to be displayed. I've had a few comments about this and I've seen examples in doing some research, people where you go, they could have done with pinning some headlines there because their eventual thing that's being shown to the prospect, me as the searcher in that scenario, just doesn't quite make sense. Okay, and I already mentioned it, but before you go, I strongly recommend you check out this video where I show you how to write Google Ad headlines that get clicks. I give you a whole bunch of examples, best practices, works really well in conjunction with what I've taught here. Go ahead and check it out.